All right, thank you for tuning in. Dr. Stephen J. Hatfill is in the studio. He's the author of a book called 3 Seconds Until Midnight. It's a thriller novel, and I believe that the story actually uses some real possible scenarios in the world of medicine, especially when viruses can mutate or mutate themselves, and I don't have any clue how that works. So let me put the camera on Dr. Hatfill and say good morning, and thank you so much for coming in. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. Nice to meet you. It's actually a nonfiction book, which is even more frightening than a novel.
Oh my gosh. Okay. You know, I kind of wondered that actually because I hadn't read it. So do you live around here because you're in the studio?
Part-time.
Okay. Part-time. Where's the other time?
Washington, D.C.
Oh, okay. Oh my gosh.
Puerto Rico.
Really?
Yeah.
So you habla español?
No.
No. You just like it down there, huh? Well, thank you for coming in. And so as a doctor, what kind of a doctor are you? Medical?
Formerly trained as hematology.
Okay, my gosh.
And then I did trauma. And for the last, while the wars were on, for the last over a decade, we've been training special operations in combat medicine.
So the book talks about a virus that mutates back in 1918. Is that true?
Yes, absolutely. What happened was in the winter of that year, the first wave of H1N1 influenza came by.
Really?
And then it mutated. Huh? And a second wave appeared, and it became actually the third worst plague in recorded human history.
And it mutates itself. I'm not being rude by looking over here. I'm just trying to make sure I have all these settings right. But it mutates itself?
Every time a flu virus replicates, it makes a small little error. And sometimes these viruses aren't even viable.
This may be a stupid question, but is there a reason why they mutate?
It's a survival advantage. For a virus to get in.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, for a virus to actually habitat the human body, and it needs the human body to replicate, it can't replicate on its own. So it's a tremendous thing. We've got an immune system that has to be bypassed. Yeah. We have a body temperature. Some viruses don't like our body temperature. All these factors come into play. So by the virus making a mistake each time it replicates, you don't have one flu virus in you. You've got a number of little substrains in there.
So going back to what you corrected from what I said, this is a true story.
Yeah.
And is it? So I'm guessing it's still happening today. I'm guessing this is something that life will be handing us forever.
It's increasing, which is the worry. I became interested in this after the 2014 Ebola debacle. Mm-hmm. Where they gave it to Department of Homeland Security instead of the CDC. CDC, the Center for Disease Control, were marginalized. And the Inspector General report on this is outrageous. You can get it off the internet. Mm-hmm. But not only did we let over 100 people into the country without screening, but the whole thing was just, we couldn't even do a syndromic surveillance system at 5 airports properly.
Oh my gosh.
So I started looking at the pandemic plan. Mm-hmm. And I found one in 2005 under the Bush administration. This was actually the first influenza pandemic plan ever really developed.
Can you help us understand what that means? What is a pandemic plan?
Well, you can have an epidemic, and that, let's say, a measles broke out in Ocala.
Right.
That would be an epidemic. Mm-hmm. If it transmitted to Gainesville and North Carolina and Europe, that would be a pandemic.
Okay.
So I started looking at this plan in 2005, and there wasn't a plan. It was just a lot of waffle. It was like reading a lawyer's document. It goes on for pages, and at the end of it, you have no clue what you've just read.
Yeah.
And I said, well, there has to be it must be classified. So I started talking to some friends and said, no, that's it. I said, you're kidding me. Well, about 6 months later, Health and Human Services brought out a plan. And they said, we're only going to be responsible for certain things. We're going to stockpile drugs. Now, you can't make a flu vaccine until you actually have the strain that's causing the epidemic pandemic. Mm-hmm. And it takes 6 months just to ramp up for this. We grow it currently in chicken eggs, fertilized chicken eggs. And it makes a very good vaccine if you're a chicken. But it tends to adapt a bit to the chicken embryo, which it replicates in. Mm-hmm. And you have to guess what strain is going to go pandemic. Most of these come out of China because of their agricultural practices.
Oh, gee.
They put ducks and chickens and pigs all together. And of course, these are targets. Influenza is actually a bird disease. So it jumps from the birds to the pigs to the ducks, and they spread it because they're migratory. And you get this whole mixing effect. And eventually a strain adapts to humans and it goes pandemic.
Oh, my God.
So this happens every year, the seasonal influenza. Mm-hmm. Then you can have actual genetic, the influenza virus has 8 blueprints for its construction. All the group A influenza viruses have 8 blueprints. Mm-hmm. Well, it's different in a bird. It's different in a pig. It's different in a human. So the poor Chinese farmer's out there dealing with all his animals, and he gets infected with a bird, and he gets infected with a pig strain. And they can actually, inside his body, trade blueprints and mix and match.
Oh, my.
So you get these novel hybrid strains.
Wow.
Oh, it's terrible. We're at pandemic alert now from the World Health Organization for the the new one.
So that's why it's 3 seconds? 3 seconds until midnight. That's why.
We're not prepared. Right now, the U.S. government has kept their part of the bargain. Mm-hmm. That we have a strategic national stockpile of drugs and ventilators and this type of thing.
Oh.
And they have an efficient distribution method to get it to the states, to one location in the state. The states have done a pretty good job. They have a distribution plan for get any drugs or vaccine out to the individual towns and cities. Where the plan falls apart is local authorities. They're not ready.
Because why? They don't understand it? Is that why they're not ready?
Look at the healthcare system today.
Well, that's the symptoms. But I mean, why do the symptoms exist? Because they don't study it. Like if they just read your book, they might even know more. I know more in just 10 minutes of listening to you.
We're 50,000 healthcare workers, public health workers short. Each year it gets cut. And it's a real mess. Public health doesn't like to talk to city managers. Mm-hmm. Or city emergency planners.
So when we hear about something that we thought was eradicated making a comeback, I think I read somewhere that polio was doing that.
Well, we have a measles outbreak going on in, I forget, somewhere in the world.
So what happens? Yeah. Is that exactly what happens? It's still out there? We really haven't eradicated anything.
Oh, no. The H1N1 we got in 2009 is actually a remnant of the 1918 virus, with its own set of mutations, and it's fairly mild. Uh-huh.
So you said the bird, all the flu is actually a bird flu.
It's a bird disease.
And we're told that sometimes you get the bird flu. What is that?
Well, that's a pathogenic bird flu strain. And normally birds have it, but it's perfectly adapted to them. So they don't get sick, but they pass it out through their feces, their droppings.
This is dumb. I'm sorry.
So when I'm cleaning my bird bath, I mean, I always wash my hands after. But I
You're
should
very wise.
Really
and avoid aerosol generation. Mm-hmm. Now, your bird needs to be in contact with a wild bird. Mm-hmm. Well, what's been happening over the last 50 years are these huge chicken battery operations. Some of them have 1 million birds outside.
Oh my God!
And here come the waterfowl flying over with their droppings and this and that. And occasionally we get a highly pathogenic avian influenza that attacks our birds. And I think it was 2015, we had to kill like 23 million turkeys and chickens because this avian flu had broken out. Now, it wasn't transmissible to man very frequently. You can get an overdose of virus, and even if it's difficult, most viruses are species specific. But if you inhale enough of this stuff or get it into you, in some fashion, it can initiate an infection.
If there's a vaccine for something, does that mean that something is a virus?
Well, you can have vaccines against bacteria too.
Oh, you can.
Diphtheria and tetanus.
Because
that's a bacterial disease.
We had an author, and he told us there was a vaccine for cancer. Is that true?
In a way, yes. We can take your lymphocytes out of your body in a cancer patient, and we can stimulate them with a bit of your tumor material. And what you create are natural killer cells, and we put these back into your body, and they go find the cancer cells and wipe it out.
Is that new?
No, it's been since Dr. Good back in the 70s started working on this immunotherapy. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's just certain cancers will only express one protein. Oh. And your body, it tries, but it can't get a grip of it by taking these cells out and training them and then putting them back into you.
Wow.
So, yeah, for melanoma, there's been some advances with that.
Dr. Stephen J. Hatfill is our guest. He's a specialist physician with a virologist. Am I saying it right?
Yeah.
With a military background. Oh, I have questions for you about that. And a microbiologist, a geneticist, a radiation biochemist, an experimental pathologist, a United Nations weapons inspector. Holy cow. You were awarded an honorary U.S. Army parachute wings with a Bronze Star. And your book is called 3 Seconds Until Midnight, and it is not a novel.
No, it's unfortunately it's pretty serious.
So stuff. Is it a warning? Are you telling us what we need to be aware of?
I am.
And what is it? What is it that we need to be doing? What should we be doing? Is it an individual thing? Do I need to do something, or does the world at large need to do something?
We need to realize that our current influenza plan right now, 123 to 125 million Americans are not going to get anything except advice to frequently wash your hands. If you're sick, stay home from work. Mm-hmm. And if you sneeze, cough in or sneeze into your sleeve. Mm-hmm. The same measures that they had in 1918 before antibiotics or anything else. Our disadvantaged communities, our poor communities, are going to be hit the worst. And this has been we've had 4 influenza outbreaks since 1918, including 1918. 3 of them were milder, of course. But in all of these, it's been the disadvantaged, poor communities that have been hit the hardest. And these are the ones that get infected, and they overload the hospitals. Mm-hmm. Well, we don't have enough vaccine to go around. It'll be very limited. So it's going to go to the military, as it should. It's going to go to the politicians, which is debatable.
Yeah, right.
And for the 120 largest cities, as far as it goes, critical infrastructure. Mm-hmm. But 123 to 125 million Americans aren't going to get anything. And we don't have a rational plan on how we're going to tier or allocate these limited vaccine supplies. And unfortunately, the poor, disadvantaged communities are going to be hit the worst. They're going to cause up to a 200% increase in need for hospital beds and a 400% increase in ventilators. Intensive care beds?
Oh my!
Do our bodies become more resistant if you have the flu, get over it, and never got a vaccine?
We're back into the concept of effectiveness of influenza vaccines. If you're over 60 years of age, the vaccine isn't really going to do you that much good, we think. Yeah.
Well, that's me.
And, of course, we're depending that we guess the right strain that's gone pandemic 6 months before. Right. I think we missed it this year.
Mm-hmm. But you're still, but people were still people were still being told, get your flu shot.
We think if we got the strain right, that it will give you some partial immunity. The thing is, every year, this influenza group A virus changes its outer coat. Mm-hmm. It takes the black coat off and puts on a red one. Oh. And this is why we have to keep getting a new vaccine every year. Mm-hmm. If we guessed wrong, the vaccine is not going to do anything.
If I have no symptoms at all, can I still be a carrier?
This is the problem, because you're secreting large amounts of influenza A virus into the environment a day to 2 days before you even start to feel sick or run a temperature.
My gosh. So you gotta be careful, especially around babies, right? And old people.
Yeah.
Both.
Traditionally, it's the babies and the old. In 1918, it was a complete reverse. It was the fit, healthy males that were being transported to Best France for World War I. And the gloves came off. With that, we were shipping 10,000 soldiers a day to Europe when Wilson decided to get us into the ground war. Mm-hmm. And you can't pack people together that tightly like sardines. Mm-hmm. And the virus, it didn't matter whether it killed you in 3 days or not. There were more victims.
Yeah.
So the rules had changed.
Wow.
Mm-mm.
And this is what was selected. The fit, healthy young males, they died within sometimes 24 hours of coughing.
Oh, my.
It was a true plague.
Wow.
It killed anywhere from 50, arguably up to 100 million.
What you're warning against, that we might have that again?
Well, we will.
We will.
Yeah. In the book, I use a graph derived from World Health Organization data. And it shows that around 1990, something significant happened. We crossed some sort of a threshold. I think it's population numbers. Mm-hmm. But suddenly we have all these new micro outbreaks of different strains. And we didn't see this up until from 1918 till 1990. Mm-hmm. And it's just graphic. You can see something's happening. It's not just that, but we're seeing infections now outside of the flu that we've never seen before. We didn't know humans could be infected with these viruses. And it's almost exponential.
Is are the numbers skewed because we have a better ability to detect them?
No, there's been 3 large reviews, very, very well done in the scientific literature. Because I thought we're just getting better at noticing this.
Right.
These are actually new SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome, MERS, Middle East respiratory syndrome, the Ebola outbreaks, Marburg outbreaks. Then the list keeps going on and things we've never seen before. There's worse viruses out there than influenza A.
Are the things that we're told to do to fortify our immune systems, are they effective? I'll use a brand name. What's that one called? Airborne.
Yeah.
So like a effervescent thing you put in water and drink it. Are those things effective?
Save your money.
Save your money. Like, okay, what about if we are like in an airplane or a boat? They say the ship sometimes have a lot of people on it. It's just.
Oh, I catch it. I travel a lot.
So it's only because you're around a lot
I catch it every year.
Really?
Oh yeah. If it's out there, I get it from the airplane.
Yeah. And that makes sense because from 1990 to the present day, air travel has become just like jumping in your car and driving to the grocery store.
It's not just that, but it's projected to increase by 15% annually in the foreseeable future. Mm-hmm. And the world's becoming more interconnected. I've been in the jungle in Borneo, literally in Borneo, in the jungle, and 24 hours later in John F. Kennedy International Airport.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm well within the incubation period of anything I might have picked up in the jungle. There's about 1.5 million viruses still out there, we estimate, and we don't have a clue. But projections are 10 to 40 of these are going to enter the human population over the next 20 years, and we don't have a clue how pathogenic they are and what the effects will be.
Do those hand sanitizers?
Yes, they do.
They make a difference.
They do. One of the ways you can catch influenza, everybody thinks sneezing, coughing, breathing it in. But one of the more important means is contact. So I'm sick. I come in, I sneeze in here. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And I've just spread droplets all over. You touch the countertop and then rub your eye. The eye is a target for entry. Within 30 minutes, you've got influenza virus in your nose.
Really?
And from there, it goes down your airway.
Oh, my gosh.
So this virus can stay alive for several hours on the surface.
Keep your fingers out of your eyes.
It can stay alive for a week on paper currency.
Oh, gosh.
Well, if that's true, then when you get a hotel room, unless they really sanitized the beds and the furniture in there, whoever was in there before you might have left something for you.
If they didn't sanitize it properly.
Yeah.
Look at the bed bug problem we've had over the last 5 years.
Oh, yeah, that's so scary.
In a way, that's an emerging.
Yeah, how'd that happen?
Yeah, and people clean their homes, and they have the cleanest home ever, and all of a sudden you've got bed bugs.
All you need to do is drag home a contaminated suitcase from the hotel.
Oh my!
I sleep on the outside of the covers when I stay in a hotel.
Oh my gosh! Where did you drive from to get here today?
Oh, the Forest of Golden Hills.
Oh, okay. So
our family had
not too far.
had a racehorse farm down here.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I just want to re-mention the book. It's called 3 Seconds Until Midnight. Did you say you brought one in?
Yeah,
you did.
Got one here.
Are we giving it to a listener?
Sure, I signed it.
All right, let me, before we run out of time, if you would like the one that was brought in by Dr. Hatfill, this is an amazing, I'm going to have to buy my own. Please, if you win it, don't give it to me. Keep it, save it for yourself. I'll get one off of the internet. Let's see, I found it on Amazon, I think.
Yeah, we like
There's a website, 3 seconds until midnight.
Oh, okay.
.com.
Okay. And I see it's a paperback and a Kindle. See, I would get the Kindle.
Yeah,
I would get the Kindle. All right. So if you want the book right now, call 622-9622. I'll have to pick one at random, and you will get the book 3 Seconds Until Midnight. This is not a novel. We thought it was, and I apologize for that. This is a warning. So what do we, the average person, take away from this? Just are we afraid? Is that what happens?
Well, you need to start making vocal noises to Health and Human Services. We've got to
saying what? Like, what should we tell them?
We've got to reorganize our efforts. The government's done what they can do. They will get a vaccine to you eventually. We've stockpiled some drugs. We've stockpiled equipment, but it's up to the local authorities. Mm-hmm. We need more public health workers. And if we can control an epidemic in our local community, then the country can control a pandemic. And Department of Health and Human Services have issued guidelines for local authorities. Mm-hmm. Here's how you plan. It doesn't cost a lot of money. You need an alternate care site. Where are we going to handle the hospital overflow? Mm-hmm. We need a warehouse. So when the supplies and ventilators come in, where are we going to store them? Are we going to have police guards? This type of thing. Very practical. And you need to rehearse it. And the local authorities are not doing this.
And is this all laid out? Because if I try to tell that to anybody, I'm going to mess up. But I can learn from the book and then share that.
We go through it
my gosh.
I wrote it for laymen, for non-medical people.
I like your website too. I went and visited the website. Yeah, and you've got all three of your bios on there, and it's very easy to navigate.
I brought in 2 national disaster experts, and we found a problem. We found some choke points. How do we fix it? You don't just illuminate problems, you have to offer solutions. Mm-hmm. And Robert Coulihan and John Walsh. Robert's been in disaster planning since, 30 years. Mm-hmm. He was part of the White House Y2K task force and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And John Walsh has been working for Department of Homeland Security in disaster planning for
the same
many
John
years.
Walsh, the one who lost his son?
No, different one.
Okay.
John's a PhD level.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Excellent.
Dr. Yours have impressed us beyond anything. The book is called 3 Seconds Until Midnight. It's not a thriller novel. It is, in fact, a true warning that the viruses that are out there that you read about on the marquee over at Walgreens are really dangerous, more than we realize, right? So let's see, we need to get hand sanitizer. We need to not touch our eyes.
If you're sick, don't go to work.
Or school.
Try to stay. Well, it's almost impossible. CDC advises stay away from others.
Yeah.
Well, you've got to go out.
The kids are going to come home from school.
The kids are going to come home. You've got to take mass transit in the large cities.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of this, if you wear a surgical mask, that isn't going to do it because somebody coughs and the micro droplets that can stay suspended for a couple hours are attracted by the surface tension of the fluid in your eye. Mm-hmm. And within a half hour, it's in your nose.
Oh, my gosh.
Let me take a phone call. Good morning. You're on the air. Okay, turn down your radio. Hello.
I would love this book.
Okay.
I would love to have it and we'll use it. I will certainly share it with people with the medical field.
And who's this?
Gareth.
Oh, Gareth. Okay, Gareth, the book will be waiting for you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so
I'll
much.
be there this afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, very good. I don't know if you could hear her, Doctor, but yeah, she's without headphones. Could you hear her?
Yeah, I can.
Through our headphones?
Yeah.
Okay. Doctor, thank you for coming in to talk about this. I think you're making a great contribution. I think we don't understand what we even are dealing with because we're not medical professionals.
Well, I didn't understand either.
Now you do.
And I mean, I've been shocked for a number of years here. And we've tried meetings with various people in the government. And finally, we just said, forget it. I'm writing a book. When the three of us.
Yeah, really.
Good for you. This is very, very impactful.
Dawn, you don't have to get a book. I've got a copy for you.
All right. We'll take a little break. We'll be right back. Thank you. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Nice being here.
We'll be
nice
right
to meet you.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Liberty Mutual.